Hello everyone. So today we will be discussing religion as well as the effects of religion to globalization. So first of all, we must define religion. So religion can be defined as the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. Now it may also be defined as a cultural system of designated behaviors and practices, morals, worldviews, texts, sanctified places, prophecies, ethics, or organizations that relates humanity to supernatural, transcendental, or spiritual elements. Now, so if you may notice, no, nga sa ato ang religion or basically sa ako ang relihiyon, no, sa Roman Catholic naagod tay ginatawag pod nato og kanang atuang mga sacred texts or sacred or mga sanctified places. Simple pareha nang sa Bible ug kanang sa simbahan, no? And that is true as well to most other mga religions. Pareha sa Judaism nga ina sila Torah, no, or gilahapod mga temple. Or pareha pod sa mga Muslim or sa Islam, no, napod sila Quran o kanang ilang mga mosque. Pero para dili ta ma-complicate, no, let us all agree sa atoang klase nga ang atoang definition of religion is a belief in a supernatural power or powers that are regarded as the being or beings that created and maintains the universe. Diba? It's a more simple definition nga naay supreme being or beings nga siya mo'y gagama sa kalibutan, nya siya po'y ga-maintain sa kalibutan. So there are different types of religions in the world. Now, so basically, ang three types is the monotheistic, or basically belief in one God or one supreme being. We have the polytheistic, nga multiple gods or goddesses, etc. No, multiple supreme beings. And we also have kaning ginatawag nga animistic or traditional. Kani siya, it's basically similar to katong atoang pre-colonial religion, kanang more pagan style ba nga katong we believed, we did believe in Bathala, but we also believed nga na ay mga spirits nga gadwell sa mga living things or sa mga bato or sa mga kahoy, more or less, no, ingon nana nga mga mentality or inana nga focus sa paglantaw sa religion. So if you look at the global religious map, no, based ni siya sa mga statistics sa global population of believers in 2002, no, wala mo po gayon ni siya ni Irog, I believe. Pero basically mo ni siya composition sa various religions of the world. No, dominant gyud ang ang Catholic, no, not necessarily Roman Catholic, pero mga Christian religions siya may usually dominant sa kalibutan, followed by the Muslims, na po yung mga Hindu, na Jews, na Buddhists, na po sagol dire if you can see the kanang mga gray or white lines, no, na yung mga religions nga dili dominant ang certain religion sa certain areas, na apoy muto og different types of religion nga wala gi-classify, as well as kanang mga atheist na apo dire if you just pause the video and analyze it for yourself. Okay? So one of the oldest religions, or probably one of the oldest religions in the world, is what we call Judaism. So Judaism is the world's oldest monotheistic religion. Now dating back to nearly 4,000 years, now followers of Judaism believe in one God, nga ilang ginatawag og Yahweh. No, I'm sure you've heard of that sa atuang Old Testament pod sa Roman Catholics, no, who revealed himself through ancient prophets. Now sa karon there are about mga 14.5 to 17.4 million Jews in the world today. Now Judaism is the 10th largest religion today, and only 43% of the Jews live in Israel. The other 43%, they live in and around USA and Canada, and the remaining 24% of the Jews are scattered across communities across the world. So I'm sure you are all familiar with the Roman Catholic religion, no? As most of us Filipinos are. believers as well as practitioners of this religion. Now, Roman Catholicism is the largest of the three major branches of Christianity. So, all Roman Catholics are Christian, but not all Christians are Roman Catholics. Now, of the estimated 2.3 billion Christians in the world, about 1.3 billion are Roman Catholics. So next, we discuss Protestantism or kanang mga followers ano yung ginatawag og Protestants. Now, they are called Protestants because they originated with the 16th century reformations of Christianity. No? Ilahang movement was against what its followers perceived to be the errors in the Catholic Church. Now, globally, Protestants are made up of mga 37% of the Christians around the world. That's according to a statistics of 2010. Now, while the Protestant Reformation began in Germany in 2010, nearly 9 in 10 or 87% of the world's Protestants live outside of Europe, particularly in countries that make up the Global South. Now, if you remember, our discussion on the global divides, the global south. So, mga developing nations na siya in the southern hemisphere. Now, they worship the same God, but the principles of their faith are different. Now, I think the most obvious ones nga ato ang monona Andre sa Dumaguete, no, is they do not believe in saints or dili sila motuo og fiesta, no, more or less mga anak. And pero there are still mga divisions between kanang Catholics and kaning mga Protestants. So Catholicism and Protestantism have their distinct views on the meaning and the authority of the Bible. So for Protestant Christians, Luther made clear that the Bible is the Sola Scriptura, or God's only book, in which he provided his revelations to the people, and which follows them to enter in communion with Him. Now, Catholics, on the other hand, do not base their beliefs on the Bible alone. Now, along with the Holy Scripture, kita na po tayo mga additional traditions nga atong gisubay based on the Roman Catholic Church. Another difference aning duha is kanang Protestants are not open at all to papal primacy. Now, according to the evangelical view, this dogma contradicts statements in the Bible. Pero ang Katoliko, they see the Pope as the successor to the Apostle Peter. Muna sa ilang panglantaw or sa atoang panglantaw, Peter was basically the first Pope. Kay matod pa ni Jesus, he would be the rock nga where his church would stand, more or less. So the first head of their church is Peter again, and who was appointed by Jesus. So the papal office, or the papal office rather, is justified by an allegedly unbroken chain of consecrations, ranging from the 1st century to the present. So what that means is, if mulantaw ka sa kanang history sa mga popes, imo go makita nga for every century since gasugod si Peter as the first pope of the Roman Catholic Church, naagoy mga pope nga gasucceed niya. Wala guna na vacant na for any period of time. Now, although regardless of how you see the actions of the previous popes, especially katong panahon sa colonial era, I guess more or less you could say that no religion is perfect when it comes to the actions of the papal office. So next, we'll discuss sa Islam. So Islam is the second largest religion in the world after Christianity. It has about 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide. So Islam started in Mecca, or what is in modern-day Saudi Arabia. Now, during the time of the Prophet Muhammad's life, so basically, ang gasugod danay or gapasiyog da is, or ang last prophet sa Islam, according to Islam, it's Muhammad. Okay? So for Hinduism, it is the world's oldest religion, according to many scholars. Now, it has roots and customs dating back more than 4,000 years. So today, with about 900 million followers, Hinduism is the third largest religion behind Christianity and Islam. Now, roughly 95% of the world's Hindus live in India. So, Buddhism is one of the world's largest religions and originated around 2,500 years ago in India. So, Buddhists believe that the human life is one of suffering and that meditation, spiritual and physical labor, and good behavior are the ways to achieve enlightenment or nirvana. So kaning Buddhism, it has already been kanang nikalat na po ni siya, no? Dili lang ni siya predominant sa India, as we all know, or as we discussed earlier, no, nga Hinduism pod ang galabi sa India. So napoy Buddhism dito, nga nikalat po ni siya all the way across East Asia rather. So naabot po ni siya sa China, naapod ni sa Pilipinas, nasad ni sa Japan, no? Taoism or Taoism is a philosophical and spiritual tradition of the Chinese origin, which emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao. So in Taoism, the Tao is the source, pattern, and substance of everything that exists. So basically, mo ni siya katong, if you're familiar with katong yin and yang nga kuan, no? Katong light and dark, nagoy dapat na balance, more or less ingon ana na siya. So mo ni siya ang belief or karaang belief pod sa mga Chinese, which is still prevalent even up to today. So another one is I guess more of a philosophy as well, or a belief system pod, no? Some scholars do not regard it as a religion, pero other people also regard it as a religion. So for the sake of this class, no, we will also treat it as a religion as well. So kaning Confucianism, it's also another Chinese traditional religion or belief system. It focuses on the importance of personal ethics and morality. So Confucianism is a philosophy and belief system from ancient China, which laid the foundation for much of Chinese culture. So Confucius was a philosopher and teacher who lived from 551 to 479 BCE. And so finally, we discuss Shintoism, no? So Shintoism, it's a very local religion in Japan, no? The essence of Shinto is the Japanese devotion to invisible spiritual beings and powers called kami. So basically, kanang kami nila, it's what they call God, no? Or they can have more than one kami depending on depending on the area, the location, kanang the animal, no? More or less pare-pareho ra ni siya sa katong ato ang ancient belief system pod kanang sa Bathala, no? Kanang mga ginana, no? Naputay similarities ani sa Shintoism. So Shinto again is a very local religion in which devotees are likely to be concerned with their local shrine rather than the religion as a whole. Now, which is true if you are familiar with kanang a little bit of Japanese culture, no? Kanang ilang mga shrines, no, lahi-lahi ang kami nga ga-reside diha. So ang mga kami or gods not necessarily tanan kay buutan, napoy uban nga murag malicious or kanang ganang mag-tripping, no? So munay ilahang belief system sa Shintoism. So not necessarily nga you can be exclusive believer in Shintoism, no? From my experience before, no, there are people who are Roman Catholic pero naragyapon sila gifollow nga Shintoism nga traditions nga ginabuhat. And also kanang it doesn't necessarily mean nga puro Roman Catholic. You can be a Buddhist and still practice Shintoism, no? Nana siya. So it's a very cultural thing when it comes to the Japanese. So now we discuss the globalization of religion. So religion, much more than culture, has the most difficult relationship with globalism. So the two contrast in their beliefs. Religion is concerned with the sacred, while globalism values material wealth. Religion follows divine commandments, while globalism abides by human-made laws. Now, religion assumes there is the possibility of communication between humans, and the transcendent. However, ang globalism's yardstick or ang sukdanan sa globalism is how much of human action can lead to the highest material satisfaction and subsequent wisdom that this new status produces. Okay? Religious people are less concerned with wealth and all that comes along with it. A religious person's main duty is to live a virtuous or sinless life. Globalists are less concerned whether they end up in heaven or hell. No? So, ang kaning mga religious people, they will aspire to become saints. While kaning mga globalist, mo train sila silang kaugalingon para mahimo silang wise-wise nga negosyante or business person or a shrewd business person. So, kaning mga religious people will see politics and the quest for power as evidence of humanity's weakness. No? Globalists will value them both means and ends to further open the economies of the world. So religion and globalization clash over the fact that religious evangelization is a form of globalization. Ang globalist's ideal is largely focused in the realm of markets. So kaning relasyon between religion and globalism, no, it's much more complicated than what we'd like to think. So kanisha, this is Peter Berger. Now he argues that far from being secularized, no, the contemporary world is furiously religious. Now, when we say secularized, no, it's basically relating to the worldly things or to things that are not regarded as religious, spiritual, or sacred. No, so bali dili religious ng paglantaw. That's what we mean when we say secularized. However, in most of the world, there are veritable explosions of religious fervor occurring in one form of another in all major religious traditions like Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and even in Confucianism, which again, many people do not regard it as a religion, or depending on you if you want to regard it as a religion. Another relationship po daning religion of globalism, no, is that kaning religion are the foundation of modern republics, no? Kaning Malaysian government, if you're aware of it, they place religion at the center of their political system. Kanang ilahang constitution explicitly states nga kanang Islam is the religion of the federation. Now, ang kanang rulers of each state was also the head of the religion of Islam, no? Even kanisha kaning nasa inyong picture karon, this is the late Iranian religious leader who is Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. He bragged about the superiority of Islamic rule over its secular counterparts, no? Iyang mga counterparts nga wala gabase og religion, no? And pointed out that there is no fundamental distinction or wala kunoy kalahian sa mga constitutional, despotic, dictatorial, democratic, and communistic regimes. Para ni Khomeini, kanang mga secular nga ideologies parihara, no, they were all flawed. And kanang Islamic rule is the superior form of government because it was spiritual. Pero Iran still calls itself a republic, a term that is associated with the secular. So moreover, no, kaning mga religious movements, they do not hesitate to appropriate secular themes and practices. Now, kani siya nga flag, no? Muna siya ang Moderate Muslim Association's Nadlatul Ulama in Indonesia. Now, they have Islamic schools where students are not only taught about Islam, pero ginatudluan po ni sila about modern science, social science, modern banking, civic education, the rights of women, pluralism, as well as kanang democracy. So in most cases, no, our religion was the result of a shift in a state policy. Now, the Church of England, for example, was shaped by the traditional uh, rationality of modern democratic and bureaucratic culture. No? Kani si King Henry VIII, he wanted to divorce his first wife so that he could marry Anne Boleyn. Pero wala siya sugti sa Roman Catholic Church, munang siya ni simang po ni siya, and he established his own church to bolster his own power. So in the United States, religion and law were fused together to help build this modern secular society. Now, it was observed atong mga early 1800s by the French historian and diplomat Alexis de Tocqueville, who wrote the book Democracy in America. No? Alexis de Tocqueville stated that not only do Americans practice their religion out of self-interest, but they often even place in this world the interest which they have in practicing it. So Jose Casanova confirms that statement by noting that historically, religion has always been at the very center of all great political conflicts and movements of social reform. So kaning mga movements that they're talking about, it's from independence to abolition, from nativism to women's suffrage or kanang women's right to vote ba. So from prohibition, kaning prohibition kato ni siyang bawal na ang alcohol or alcoholic drinks, no? To the civil rights movement. Religion had always been at the center of these conflicts, but also on both sides of the political barricades. So it remains the case until today with the power the Christian right has on the Republican Party. So finally, religious leaders have also used religion to wield influence in the political arena. No? Either as outsiders criticizing the pitfalls of pro-globalization regimes, or as integral members of coalitions who play key roles in policy decision makings and the implementation of government projects. So now we talk about the religions for and against globalization. Now when we discuss this topic, it's not necessarily that there are religions that are pro and anti-globalization. No? What it basically means is kanarang relationship or the complexity of the relationship between religion and globalization. So ato ang previous discussion ang atong gibuhat no kay ang atong gi-differentiate no unsay mindset sa mga globalist o kanang mga religious people. So kani ang atong i-discuss karon is kanang murag complex relationship between religion and globalization. So there is hardly a religious movement today that does not oppose the profane globalization, no? Ilang gigamit ng religion para mo oppose og globalization. Pero kaning old world religions or so-called old world religion like Islam and Christianity, no? Para nila kaning globalization dili ni siya obstacle. They see it more as an opportunity to expand their reach all over the world. No? So, well, if you're familiar with it, no, nay kanang murag mga missionaries sa ato sa Kristiyano, no, natay gipadala sa mga non-Christian nations, no. More or less a good example of that is kanang sa Africa, no. Galabi nila diha sa una usually more of they are more of a tribal state, no. Nga ang ilahang form of religion is more animistic, no. So katong sa mga areas nga wala pa na murag na convert to Islam, no, napoy mga lugar dito nga daghang gipadala nga mga missionary or mga Roman Catholic or Christian missionaries, no. So kana it's still a form of globalization pod, no, kanang magpadala og aid sila dito, no, ang ilang ginabuhat ila pong gi-spread ang religion as well as kanang aid nga ilang gi padala. Okay? So kaning globalization, this has freed communities from the constraints of the nation state, but in the process also threatened to destroy the cultural system that bind them together. So religion seeks to take place of these broken traditional ties to help the communities cope with their new situation or organize them to oppose this major transformation of their lives. Now, it can provide the groups with kanang moral codes that will answer their problems ranging from people's health to social conflict to even kanang personal happiness, no? So, religion is not a regressive force. So again, no, religion is not the regressive force that stops or slows down globalization. No, it is a proactive force that gives communities a new and powerful basis for their own identity. Now, it is an instrument with which religious people can put their mark in reshaping this globalizing world. Although they are putting their mark in their own terms. No? So, kaning religious fundamentalism, no? It may dislike globalization's materialism, but it continues to use the full range of modern means of communication and organization that is associated with this economic transformation. So if you may have noticed no nga kaning religion butang nato di ko kakaingon nga against ni sila og globalization solely no nga gahi go kay sila nga anti-globalization kay miskag kaning mga religion butang nato ang Roman Catholic religion no nanapod sila murag nanapod sila misa online di ba gamit tungod po daning COVID so they are embracing this technological globalization sa ato ang kalibutan karon okay. So religious fundamentalism no, may dislike globalization's materialism, but it continues to use the full range of modern means of communication and organization that is associated with this economic transformation. So it has tapped the fast long-distance transport and communications, the availability of English as a global vernacular of unparalleled power, the know-how of modern management and marketing, which enabled the spread of almost promiscuous propagation of religious forms across the globe in all sorts of directions. So it is therefore not entirely correct to assume that the proliferation or kanang paglaganap sa mga born-again groups or in the case of sa Islam, kanang paglaganap sa ISIS, no? It does not signal religion's defense against materialism of globalization. It is in fact the opposite. No? These fundamentalist organizations are the result of the spread of globalization and both find ways to benefit or take advantage of each other. Finally, with the exception to militant Islam, no, religious forces are well aware that they are in no position to fight for a comprehensive alternative to the globalizing status quo. So, for example, kanang what Catholics call the preferential option of the poor, no? It's a powerful message of mobilization. Pero for lack of a better term, wa gyapon na siya pulos. Kay at the end of the day, dili ra gyapon mausob ang sitwasyon sa mga pobre. No? For example, diri sa toa, if ang local simbahan no magpa feeding program sila no on a certain day or a certain time no pag humanog kaon na ng pobre sa lugaw nila nabusog lagi tuod sila pero ang ilang sitwasyon wala na usob no pobre ra gyapon sila. Of course, the traditionalism of kanang fundalist political Islam is not an alternative as well. No? Kanang terrorism of ISIS is unlikely to create a caliphate governed by justice and stability. So in Iran, the unchallenged superiority of a religious autocracy has stifled all freedom of expressions, distorted democratic rituals like elections, and tainted the opposition. So to conclude, no, for a phenomenon that is about everything, it's kind of odd that globalization is seen to have very little to do with religion. Now, as Peter Bayer and Laurie Beeman observed, religion, it seems, is somehow outside, looking at globalization as either a problem or potential. So one of the reasons for this perspective is the association of globalization with modernization. So modernization, which is a concept of progress that is based on science, technology, reason, and the law. So with reason, one will have to look elsewhere than to moral discourse for fruitful thinking about economic globalization and religion. So religion, being a belief system that cannot be empirically proven, is therefore anathema to modernization. Now, the thesis that modernization will erode religious practice is often called secularization theory. However, historians, political scientists, and philosophers have now debunked much of secularization theory. Now, according to Samuel Huntington, one of the strongest defenders of globalization, now he admits in his book, the book is titled The Clash of Civilizations, that civilizations can be held together by religious worldviews. No, pero kaning inaning pagtuo dili ni siya bag-o. No, sa una pa atong 15th century kaning mga Jesuits o kaning mga Dominicans, no? Ilang gigamit mo ning religion as kanang murag ideological armature to legitimize the Spanish Empire. 'Di ba? If imong hinumduman ang katong panahon sa colonization, mao ni siya nahitabo. So it was because of these moral arguments that religious people were able to justify their political involvement. So when the Spaniards occupied lands in the Americas o sa Pilipinas, now it was done in the name of the Spanish king as well as in the name of God. For according to them, for empire comes from God alone. Then, mga 300 years later, ang katong American president nga si William McKinley claimed that after a night of prayer and soul-searching, he had concluded that it was the duty of the United States to educate the Filipinos daw and uplift and civilize and Christianize them. And by God's grace, he would do the very best he could by them. So finally, as I explained earlier, no, kaning religious leaders have always used religion to wield influence in the political arena, either as outsiders criticizing the pitfalls of pro-globalization regimes or as integral members of coalitions who play key roles in policy decision-makings and the implementation of government projects. So in short, no, despite their inflexible natures, the warnings of perdition, the promises of salvation, and their obligatory pilgrimages, religions are actually quite malleable. Now, their resistance has been extraordinary, that they have outlasted secular ideologies. So, kaning mga globalists, therefore, they have no choice but to accept this reality that religion is here to stay. So, naabot na mo diri sa katapusan. So, again, daghang salamat sa pagpaminaw. Siguro ko nga naiga forward rapod ani inyo ranggi scroll. Pero either way, daghang salamat sa pagpaminaw. And I will see you on the next discussion, which is about media. Okay? Bye!